It is just beyond the hugest honor for me today to be podcast interviewing a legend, Heather Colicchio. How are you doing?
I am fantastic, Howard. How are you?
Seriously, I am your biggest fan. I even wrote a column on you. I think so much of you. You go to dental school to become a dentist. You go to hygiene school to become a hygienist. My assistant Jan's been with me 29 years. She did a year training at Apollo College, and then we go to hire someone up front, and they're just off the street. And you saw that, and you recognize that, and you're the one who went after saying we need to raise the bar on the front desk, and you started your American Association of Dental Office Managers. And some of the most passionate front office people I ever met in my entire life got a fellowship in the Academy of Dental Office Management, and I just think what you're doing is amazing. Just in case there's someone living under a rock in Kathmandu that's never heard of it, Heather Colicchio is the founder and president of the American Association of Dental Office Managers. Heather has brought her background in business management and her unique skills in professional networking to help drive the success of AADOM, the largest professional organization of dental office managers in the country. In 2003, when Heather was busy owning and operating her successful chain of gourmet cafes, as well as raising a toddler and a newborn, the furthest thing from her mind was starting a dental association, but life takes interesting turns sometimes. Through a dentist friend of hers, Heather became aware of a niche in dentistry that was not being filled. There was a lack of resources and education available for dental office managers. She casually began putting people in touch to help them fill this need, kind of like a hobby, but her entrepreneurial spirit kicked in, and soon AADOM was born. When AADOM reached over 1,000 members, in less than 2 years, Heather sold her cafes and devoted herself full-time to AADOM. It is now the largest professional association for dental office managers in the country, with 3,000 plus members and hosts of the country's largest dental office management conferences. Heather, I've heard people talking about this in Asia, Africa, Europe. I mean, it's an international thing anymore. It's not.
Well, it truly is. I'm laughing, but it actually is. We are absolutely international. We have members from Romania, from Canada, from all different parts of Europe. Certainly Puerto Rico. We are drawing from all over the world, really, and the need.
I know, and we were driving around in some Mercedes-Benz with some office manager in Singapore, and you're her whole self-esteem, identity. It's really truly amazing what you've done. So, are you going to drop the American part of it and just call it the switch American out for International Association of Dental Office Managers? We'll call it the AADOM.
Someday, perhaps. We haven't thought it out that far, but. That may be the case.
Yeah, and I think some of that, you graduated magna cum laude with a degree in psychology. I think you understand how the human brain works because you're really a great leader for them.
Well, thank you, Howard. I appreciate that.
So here's why I'm your biggest fan. I mean, I'm a dentist, and I get it. I mean, I'd rather pull a root canal. I'd rather pull 4 wisdom teeth than play golf. I don't want to do a root canal on a front tooth. I think the dental assistant should do those. I want to do a failed root canal. I mean, I get it. And so many of them, they'll go to a 3-day conference on bone grafting, but they just don't want to figure out dental insurance. They just don't want, they know, they're not dumb. They know geometry and physics. They're just not interested. And I always tell those people, dude, if you're not interested, find someone who is and delegate it. So my first question to you is, do you think dental offices are better well run if they get a dental office manager as opposed to the dentist trying to do it themselves?
Oh, no question. I mean, that's our entire philosophy is do what you're best at. And, the doctor, like you said, is in the mouth, and some of them don't like management and don't like the insurance. Some of them, though, do, and they kind of spend their time kind of looking over the shoulder of the person doing it and micromanaging. You can't replace the dentist. No one else can be chairside doing those big cases. So absolutely, our philosophy is, the dentist has a highly trained set of skills that only they can do. That you can train someone to do insurance, you can train someone to do marketing. You can't train someone to be the dentist. So the dentist should be chairside, doing what they're very, very skilled at, and hire someone to run the business end of it. And I'm not saying be ignorant of the business, but you don't need to be in the minute day-to-day details necessarily. Delegate to someone who is trained to do that, to manage your business. I say practice sometimes, but truly, as you know, it's a business.
So now I'm gonna say a statement. I'm gonna see your reaction. I know what I'll do. I'll just make my wife do it.
That's fine. That works. We actually have quite a few members who are dental spouses, and if they're passionate and if that's where they want to be, they will make excellent business managers. If that is where they want to be. Where I see that fail is when the dentist says, I'll make my wife, I'll make my husband do it, and that person's just not interested. There has to be interest, there has to be passion. If they're passionate about it, which many are because they have a vested interest, they make some of the best front office managers out there.
I agree, and some of the worst office managers, she'll even say at dinner table, I hate it. I don't want to do it. I got 3 baby girls at home. I don't want to be at that office. And then they're literally fighting at the table saying, right, you got to do it.
Right.
And you just can't have an office manager that doesn't want to do it.
No, you need, what I find is you need someone passionate, and it can be a spouse, but all of our members, we have thousands and thousands of members. The best ones are the ones who are passionate about what they do. And if you can find that passion, you can teach the dentistry, you can hone the business skills. But when you bring someone who has a fire, who really wants to help your practice succeed, that's what drives excellence.
Okay, well, you're talking to a lot of dentists right now. So let's get down and dirty specific. Your website is dentalmanagers.com. I'm driving to work. I'm all excited because I'm going to place an implant today, and I dreamed about it all night last night. And I hear podcasts about running insurance agent and all this crap. So what do? I go to dentalmanagers.com. How do I train my front office man? How do I train my front office? How does this whole program work? And specifically with the end in mind, like a lot of your listeners got their fellowship in the Academy of General Dentistry. How does my office manager in Parsons, Kansas get a fellowship in the Academy of Dental Office Managers?
Okay, so the way we exist, 90% of what we do is virtual education. So our members, so if you're a dentist, you would have your office manager or practice administrator or business manager, because the title varies practice to practice. And interestingly, in some practices, there is no one with the title. So if we say to a dentist who's your office manager, he or she may say, well, I don't have one. You may not have someone with the title, but you certainly have someone within your practice who's doing the majority of the business end of things. So what we recommend is not just membership in AADOM. I mean, that's wonderful, but I don't want to be self-serving. We recommend continuing education, always and forever, for your entire team, whether that be your office manager, your hygienist, your assistant. You need a fully functioning, highly educated team for the practice to succeed. Speaking just from the office manager end of it, and again, office manager, you can interchange that with practice administrator, business manager. What we do at AADOM is we provide the education they need to help run your practice successfully. There is no formal education. There's no degree out there like an assisting degree or a hygienist degree that is formalized. So what we've done is we've taken the education and put it into a formal structure. So as a member of AADOM, we educate you, and we do that via webinar twice a month. We do that via our e-magazine, which comes out once a week, keeping you up to date on all of the latest topics you need to know, whether it's HIPAA or OSHA or software management. And we have a member forum, which is, I can't even tell you how important that is to our members. And what the member forum, very similar to Dentaltown, allows them to do is log on to a very secure, password-protected space where they can ask a question and get answers. Because sometimes, well, a lot of times, if you're the office manager and a question comes up on billing and coding, on reimbursement, on how to run a certain software report, there's no one in your practice that you can turn to ask that question of. And you don't necessarily want to turn to the doctor and say, I don't know how to do this. So by logging into our member forum, you can ask that question and get responses, sometimes literally within minutes, of other people who are doing just what you do day in and day out. Does that...
So why don't you take a page from Trump and just name it Colicchio University? It'd be a formal university. And then you could sell steaks on the side.
And then I can run for president.
Hey, Heather, it's Dentistry Uncensored, so get to the bottom line. How much does this cost? How long would it take me to take my business person front office who does most of the business stuff? How long would it take me to take her from being a member to a fellowship in the Academy of Dental Office Manager? What would this cost? More details.
Sure.
And also, is this something I need to do with her? Do I need to go with her to these conventions, or is this something I can send her all the way to Kathmandu by herself?
Okay, so to answer the first
Or
part of
him, or and I don't know why I keep saying her. My office manager is a man.
and
I don't know
we're
why
seeing
that.
so much more of that, and an influx of male practice administrators. So the first part is membership in the association is very affordable. It's $164 a year, which I think breaks down to about $14 a month. To register just for one of the webinars as a non-member is $25. So you get ROI almost instantly on your membership dues. The next step is we do have then some more comprehensive educational programs available online at different price points, and those are based on your current knowledge level. So we have courses for novice office managers, people who have never stepped foot in a dental practice, other than as a patient, and then we have more advanced tracks for those with 5 or more years experience, 10 or more years experience. So we do kind of tailor the education to the student based on what they already know and where they're coming from. So we have, like I said, all different types of education going on virtually. The next step would be coming to the annual conference. We do an annual conference every year. It's a 3-day event, second only to the Townie event as far as fun and fireworks and fierce time. But we do 3 days of just practice management education. There is no clinical education being taught. So that is really, if you are a dentist, if you could do one thing, get your office manager membership into AADOM. If you could do a second thing, I would say send them to our annual conference. And I can tell you this, Howard, just based on what dentists have told me, what members have told me, the experience that they bring back to the practice, pays for itself in the first week. Even if they, implement one nugget that they've learned. We had one member last year tell us that one tip he picked up at our conference, running a certain report in his software that he, a male manager, had been doing manually, he learned how to do it automatically at our conference, and it was saving him 20 hours a month in staff time. The other thing that you bring back from the conference is just an energy and an enthusiasm. And like I said, and I mean that very much like the Townie conference, you come back enthused and re-energized and ready to kickstart things and take the practice to the next level.
Heather, I went to your meeting when it was in San Diego, and I mean, those office managers were still going at it at 2 o'clock in the morning.
That's
They
right.
were so
That's
passionate, and it was on the beach, and I just I was so damn proud of you. And that meeting was top tier. It was bigger than the Townie meeting in so many ways. I mean, it was just a world class meeting. I was in awe the whole time. Seriously.
Thank you so much, and thank you for speaking there. I believe you did your 2-hour MBA, which got rave reviews. And yes, our attendees will stay talking to one another into the evening, into the morning. I think if we had a property for a week, they would just stay for the week. And so much of that, Howard, I think is because they're so isolated. As an office manager, you're so incredibly isolated. Not only within the practice, but within the industry. So when we bring, hundreds of office managers together physically, just to see them sharing best practices and best ideas and what worked, we probably wouldn't need another speaker, except that we need to keep everybody current, but they learn so much from each other. It really is an amazing thing to watch. And as far as should the doctor attend, the doctor should always, I always say the more the better for any meeting. I always encourage team attendance to any meeting where it applies. If it's a clinical meeting, then not. But certainly, at a show like ours, I say the more team members, the better, for several reasons. One, you can split up and take different courses, so you're getting more education to bring back to the practice. And two, it's just such a great bonding experience, and I've seen this at our meeting where you're actually bonding with people outside the office and being with them on a whole different level than you are in the day-to-day stress of, practice life. And you take that in your relationship back, and it's just wonderful.
So Heather, I want to ask you the 4,000-pound gorilla Godzilla monster bad boy when I got out of school in '87 was capitation, and it was going to ruin dentistry. And today it's corporate dentistry, and a lot of these dentists, like you can go to Wichita, Kansas, and there's like 400 dental offices. And then Aspen comes in, opens up one office, and you thought the city was hit by a meteorite. You know what I mean? It's just, I mean, like one office comes in, they're all just scared to death. So my question specifically is, do you think corporate dentistry runs their front office better than the mom and pop family business? Do you see getting your front office up and educated and dotting the I's, cross T's is a first line defense against Heartland and Aspen and I don't want to get you in trouble. I don't know. Do they say? but you know what I'm saying?
I do. I think, Howard, I think just excellence on all levels you'll always be the clear winner at the end of the day. So you're right. You know, when one of those hits town, it is like a meteor. But when things shake out, it is or it will be the best man standing. So whether that is clinical excellence, business excellence, patient customer service. That will determine, I think, who will be around 10 years from now.
And who do you think's trading their front office better, corporate or private?
That's hard to say. You know, I don't know enough about what corporate is doing. A lot of them keep things kind of close to the vest. So we are actually working on some training for them to say, yes, you have your corporate culture and that's great, but let us kind of fill you in on what's going on in the outside world as well, just so that everybody is on par with the things they need to know as far as technology, as far as, mandates and things like that. Who's doing it better? I don't know. I think if you are a solo practitioner, though, I think there will always be a place for the solo or, small group practitioner. And I think just providing the education that your team needs really, like you said, in this situation, you've got to really be better, and it's more important than ever to be better and do better and provide an experience that your patient won't forget. So,
okay, Heather, my job is I know what you do, but my job is to estimate the questions these individuals are listening on their commute to work. Can you go over more of a full menu? I mean, do you just teach like insurance billing or account receivables? I mean, do you talk on marketing new patients? Do you talk social media? I mean, can you go over specific more menu items?
Well, I can. Let's see.
And you're not allowed to cheat by reading your own flyer.
I can't read my own. Okay.
No, I'm just.
No.
I'm just
well, I was going to actually give you some highlights of our conferences here, which I don't have on the top. I could have cheated and just had this open, but we do cover. I can tell you, we do cover all facets of practice management. In the novice class, for instance, we have dental terminology for someone who's never heard any dental terminology. In some of our advanced courses, we do more of the leadership training, conflict resolution types of things. We do a lot with social media, and that's interesting because that's something that even 5 years ago was a non-topic. That was something that didn't really exist. It was kind of like a hot potato, and that now is falling as a responsibility of the office manager. So we're doing a lot of social media education. Customer service, let's see. Medical billing, that's a huge one. That one really surprised me. We have a medical billing kind of cross-coding course this year, sold out. We added another, sold out. We're adding a third. That's a big one that we're focusing on and we'll continue to offer more. As far as kind of what we do in the day-to-day, it's really everything. Some of it is software specific. HR is a huge one. So we'll do, hiring and firing and best practices for that, interviewing, accounts receivable. We will do really customer service, which is really important. We do that a lot for answering the phone, how to answer the phone correctly, how to communicate well with your patient.
I want to ask you some more touchy questions.
Yeah.
A lot of the older dogs, like me, I'm 53. A lot of the older dogs think that to be an office manager, you pretty much got to be a 50 to 65-year-old woman to get all the younger girls just to stand in line. And a lot of older guys say they've never seen like a 22-year-old do it. Is that true or false?
Well, I think what you're describing is probably representative of the typical office manager. But I can tell you that we are seeing younger and younger people, millennials, move into this position, which is great. And, coming out of school, they are very open to learning new things. And we do, once we get past kind of the customer service and the softer things, we do get into heavy metrics and reporting and financials and those types of things. So the millennials are great. I mean, they're open to anything because they haven't been in a practice. When I started AADOM, I had no dental experience whatsoever. And I think
What year was that?
That was 12 years ago. So I don't know, 2004, roughly 2003. I had no dental experience whatsoever. I just saw a business need and filled that. But I think not having the dental experience was an advantage because I had no loyalties. I had no bad habits. And I think sometimes when you hire someone, you might say, wow, they've had 20 years experience in a dental practice. That can be a plus, but it can also be a minus in that they may be bringing bad habits with them. So I would certainly encourage young dentists to not necessarily hire just for dental experience. Hire for leadership ability, hire for passion, hire for really the way you work with someone, because the person in this position is going to be your liaison to the rest of the team, to your patient base. It's got to be someone you have a good rapport with. And that's actually a topic at our conference this year. Dr. Bill Simon is speaking on how to have a great dentist office manager relationship, because so much hinges upon the success of that relationship.
So Heather, since America signed off on free trade back in the 80s, we've lost about 50 million manufacturing jobs. I can't find specific data for dentistry, but men are pouring into the healthcare. There's 950,000 MDs, and are you seeing from your 2004 to 2016, the last 12 years, are you seeing an uptick in male members?
In our male membership? Oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's absolutely. I would say right now they might only make up 10% of our membership. I would say 12 years ago they made up about 0. So, and you're right, Howard.
Say those numbers again. 10 years ago it was 0, and now it's what?
I would say approaching 10%.
Yeah, I have 2 male dental assistants and a male office manager, and one of the guys says to me that all of his cousins are so jealous because they're out there in the 118-degree Phoenix hammering nails, and he's inside an air-conditioned dental office, and he just feels like it's the greatest movie ever made.
It's a fantastic move. Healthcare is, for the most part, a recession-proof industry. So you're right. When banking crashes, when business crashes, healthcare is a very safe environment. I know, we were affected a little bit in 2008, but big picture, it's a very safe environment to work in as far as job security. And it's interesting, in the last issue of The Observer, which is our magazine, Kim McQueen, our executive director, she did an article. It's called Mars and Venus, Even in Dental, where she profiles, I think, 6 of our male members, saying, what is this like for you? Where did you come from? How did you end up here? And what's the dynamic, working in an office?
And you know what's craziest about that book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus? The guy that wrote it was divorced 5 times. So I'm sitting there thinking that may be where he got all his experience. But speaking of men, you're from New Jersey. So if you only had to pick one, would it be Bon Jovi or Bruce Springsteen?
Gosh. Not really a fan of either, Howard.
Are you serious?
I swear. Yeah, and I actually live in the same town as both. I would say if
they both live in the same town?
I live in the same town as them.
No, they live in the same town as you.
Well, yeah.
And what town is that?
All right, that's in Rumson, New Jersey.
And they're both from the same town?
Yeah, well, Springsteen lives in Rumson, and Bon Jovi lives right over the bridge in Navasink. So, gun to my head, Springsteen.
Okay, so then what is your favorite music genre if it's not those two?
I'm a diehard Who fan.
Oh, the Who from England?
The Who from England.
Now you're giving away your age, Heather. You can't be 29 anymore if you say your favorite band's The Who.
I am.
Hey, what 3 things do you recommend an office manager do today?
Today. Okay, so if I had to tell, and this is for the dentist listening as well, 3 things to do today. Basic things that should already be done if they're not, do them today. 1, get an employee handbook. I can't tell you, Howard, how many times this comes up over and over with our membership. How many our members actually mostly do have handbooks, but for the practices that don't, please get one today. I mean, I'm an employer, you're an employer. A dental practice is a small business. It will take away so many headaches. For the dentist, for the office manager, for anyone managing the team. It just puts everything in black and white and helps resolve things like, can I use my cell phone? Do I get off on my birthday? The little things that pop up, done. 2, I would say automated reminder service, messaging service. There are still some practices who don't use those. I don't understand why. There are so many good companies out there. That's something you should implement today. Save yourself the time, the hassle, the money, get that in place. Communicate with your members, through an automated text, email, that it's all done. And I think a lot of dentists, maybe not new dentists, but older dentists, might be afraid of the technology. It's super easy. And 3, I would say education. That's that's not something you do one time. Constant CE for the dentist, for the office manager, the entire team. So crucial.
Okay, come on, Heather. This is Dentistry Uncensored. Where do I get the handbook? And tell me specifics on number 2. Where do I get the handbook?
There's a lot of great companies out there.
I know, you're going to have to piss off all of them and name one.
I really don't want to do that. If you go to our website, you can see a few that we recommend.
Dentalmanagers.com.
Uh-huh.
Can you post that where I wrote a column about you? Could you post that that sheet on that thread?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
then the homies listen to it now will know it was on my Howard Speaks that, or you could start a new thread on it or whatever. But
okay.
So can you name any companies off that list? Do you have it in front of you? I mean, how many's on the list?
The list for handbooks?
Yeah.
I don't know how many are on the list. I can tell you one company that I highly recommend is Cedar Solutions, CEDR, cedarsolutions.com. In addition to the handbook, they have
it's CEDR.com.
CEDRsolutions.com. Make sure I'm getting that
okay.
right. And I can tell you from experience, because we've worked with them, that cedarsolutions.com, CEDR. I've had experience working with them, and they've saved the day for us many times. In addition to the handbook, they have specialists on call for their members, and AADOM members get, I believe, special pricing. But HR specialists. So if you have someone, ready to quit or walk out the door because whatever, you can just get them on the phone and say, okay, what do I need to do right now? And they're right there for you. There are others. HR for Health is a good one. Those are the 2 that come to mind. And like I said, I've had actual working experience with Cedar, so I can personally.
Okay. How about names and numbers the same on your second one?
For patient communication?
Yeah.
Future Donics has quite a few. So that's formerly 1-800-DENTIST.
You talking about that Fred Joyle guy?
Fred guy.
My buddy Fred?
That Fred guy. So, I would say.
There's only one mystery about Fred. How come he can drink the same amount as me and he never gets fat? How does that happen with Fred? I think they need to study that guy. That guy can party with the worst of them and not gain an ounce. But anyway, so patient communication. So you're saying Future Donics? Is it Future Donics anymore? Is it 1-800-DENTIST or same?
I believe it's Future Donics. I would say go to futuredonics.com, and they have a whole suite of patient communication tools. And again, we have members who I can say are using their service, very, very happy with them. There's Smile Reminder. There's Lighthouse. You're really putting me on the spot here, Howard. Demand Force.
Fred's book, I want to talk about that for a minute because what we're talking about earlier. He wrote that book, Marketing is Everything. And I love Fred to death, and I love that book. It's one of the only few books I've ever read twice, back to back. It was a great book. But I think marketing for dentistry has been like getting addicted to Profenol like Michael Jackson or fentanyl like Prince, because if you got a 25 new patients a month, if a hygienist worked 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, she works 2,000 hours. So she could treat 1,000 people like you and me twice a year. So if you're getting 25 new patients a month, which everyone's doing, every 3 years you'd add another full-time hygienist. Yet you come to any dental office who hires a hygienist, you come back 10 years later of them getting 25 new patients a month, and they still only got that one hygienist. Then you come back at year 20, still you got the one hygienist. At year 30, at year 40, I see zero evidence in dentistry that anyone has ever kept their patients. You find the most qualified, most awesome dentists who's 60 years old, short, fat, and bald, and they still need new patients. And they're still going to Fred and saying, marketing is everything. You know what Fred's sequel should be? Patient loyalty is everything. I mean, I'm in Arizona. You take that little crazy Colorado River with no water in it, and you put that Hoover Dam there so no one gets out the back door, and you can't swim across that lake. And you just don't see, and when you go do the math on any dental office, their new patient flow exactly equals how many people are going out the back door because they don't ever change their capacity over decade 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's why I think it's a joke when they freak out that Aspen or Heartland or Pacific Dental came across the street because like nobody shows evidence of patient loyalty. So my question to you in that long-winded deal, are you going to talk Fred Joel come back to your meeting and having a speech? Patient loyalty is everything. Do you teach patient loyalty? And what do you think of the current? I mean, do you agree that it's a problem that everybody still needs new patients
Yes,
40
absolutely.
years after
Yes, I
opening their
absolutely agree
business?
with you, Howard. I do. And Fred will be at our meeting in Boca Raton this year, September 15th, 17th. He'll be there. Couple of, to break that question down a little bit, marketing is everything. Yes. And like Fred explains, it's really not just advertising. Marketing begins when you walk in the door. Are your patients welcome to a nice, clean waiting room? Are they greeted with a smile? So everything really is marketing. And I would agree with you that, the sequel, loyalty is everything. Really, recall is everything. I think recall is just not being done well enough. I think any practice has a gold mine in their database, in their patient database. And I think teaching effective recall, which we do, you would see those numbers increasing. You would see the need to hire a second and a third. And that's something I think dentists, need to be open to is, dentists should be open to when a new employee is needed to open the pocketbook a little bit and say, yeah, we'll take on that new hire so we can grow. I know dentists are somewhat conservative with hiring, with expenditures. I think certainly if you are doing recall well, if you're doing marketing well, you want to be able to service those patients. And I think sometimes, and that's something we hear a lot, is the dentist won't make the hire. So that's a dangerous situation to be in. But I think loyalty is key. I don't think if you have a loyal patient, they'll run down the street for a free whitening. I don't. But I do think you need to be on top of your recall at all times. And again, that's where some of that automated communication comes in. So you're constantly filling the gap from the back with your patients. You're not always looking for the new ones.
Well, everybody always, all the business consultants in dentistry, they're always saying, you should spend X percent on patient advertising. And a lot of them say like 3%, some say 4%, some say 5%. But they never give a budget on patient loyalty. And I mean, I'd almost rather switch out the 3% for marketing new patients and spend 3% on patient loyalty, patient retention. You tell them to that a pain-free shot is so important. And you say, hey, have you ever thought about buying the wand? And they're like, I'm not paying $3,000 for the wand. But then some guy from marketing comes down and says, hey, Heather, you want to spend $3,000 on a flyer and mail this to every house in your zip code? Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't need to give a pain-free shot. They can just piss off everyone they give a shot for 40 years in New Jersey, and they're just coming in the front. So do you think the a patient loyalty expenditure should equal to your advertising marketing budget percentage? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And whether that's a pain-free shot or investing in technology for something like a CEREC, a one, crown visit, one visit crown, or whatever it is to make the patient experience better, smoother, more enjoyable. Nobody likes going to the dentist. So I think when you talk about building patient loyalty and building in, budget dollars for that, yeah, I think that certainly comes in constantly investing in new technology and making sure you're up to date, making sure you're providing the quickest, most pain-free, comfortable experience.
Okay, my job today is to piss off as many as your sponsors and advertisers and everything today. So I'm going to ask you the down and dirty question. Heather, it seems like nobody likes their practice management software. I mean, if you go into Dental Town and do a search for any brand whatsoever, it's just 20 pages of bitching, moaning, and whining. I know you know more about the front office. You got them all. You're talking to them all for a decade. If you were coming out of school, if you were coming out of school and you had to buy a practice management information system, what would you tell them?
I would say probably look at the biggest, not they probably are the best because not only do they have the most robust reporting and robust technology, but also the most robust support. So I would say the two biggies, Eaglesoft and Dentrix. And I'm saying that based on what I read in our forum, what our members use, what our members are happy with. And you're right, Howard, no one will always love every product 100%, but that's how you get better. You know, if it's a company that actually listens to the complaints and says, how do we fix that? That's a company you want to go with. And I can tell you, we have sent complaints from our forum to both of those companies, and they've both been addressed, you know, directly to the member. So those are the kinds of things I would say. The two big ones, they have the most available. CareStream is also very good. I know you want to, you know, make everybody upset and angry, but CareStream is good. You know, there's a lot of good ones out there. They're all good. Those are the two our members use the most, though. So that's why I can speak to them.
The most shocking thing about Dentrix and Eaglesoft and CareStream is that none of them have a restraining order on me. Because I've had the same complaint for 30 years. I mean, hook that damn thing up to Quicken. So, I mean, you got all my patient data, you got my schedule, but until I'm paying all my bills on Quicken, and until Quicken knows what my rent, mortgage, equipment bill, that computer, payroll, all that stuff is, and then tells me my cost per hour per operatory. If Heather goes in there and I'm signed up for Blue Cross and Blue Shield PPO and I'm getting $240 for a posterior composite, and you schedule an hour and that room costs $250, no one in the schedule knows that I'm going to lose $10. So if they move that down to 45 minutes, now I made 30. They move it to 30 minutes, now I'm making 50. You know, and oh my God! I mean, I have flown down to Melville, New York, and said this in Stan Bergman's face so loud so many times. I've flown to Minneapolis, St. Paul, up to Pete Frichette's room, telling him this over and over and over. And he just tells me, he goes, Howard, you're an MBA from ASU. This would be a feature that only you would use.
No, Howard, I'm with you on that. And I actually hadn't thought of that. But certainly, yeah, to sync it in real time with a Quicken or a QuickBooks. So you get a snapshot, or you know, like you said, at any given moment, what will this procedure make me or cost me? That's genius.
And your number one cost is payroll at 25%. Why does that not do payroll? My staff should be clocking on and clocking off, and I buy Quicken, I buy Dentrix. I have to send it to APM to do my accounting. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, that's actually a fantastic idea. I don't think you would be the only one using it. I think our members who are savvy, who are also doing the books, would love a feature like that.
And then Dentrix did something where they must have never heard of me before. They invited me to their users conference in Salt Lake, and I'm just standing there berating the guy for like 2 days, and finally, I mean, and he even said in his opening deal, well, you know, 85% of all of our, no, he said, yeah, 85% of all their software features will never be used in any given dental office. And I'm like, well, do any of those dental offices have to do payroll on the 1st and 15th? So that leads me to this question, Heather. I'm going to turn this around. This show passed 1 million downloads on iTunes, and every time someone sends me an email about this show, 20% are still in dental school, and they're all below 30. I get like one email every 3 months by some guy who says, Howard, I just want to let you know I'm an old dude, and I listen to your show. So they come out of dental school. They don't know anything of this. Do you think, even though they want to be a dentist and not a dental office manager, do you think they should join AADOM just to not delegate out something until they first understand it, and that it's safer to delegate stuff you understand as opposed to just delegating out blindly?
Yes, and yes, and yes. And that's really how we were born. Is I had a good friend from college. She had gone to dental school. She was working for a group, and she, like so many dentists, had that entrepreneurial spirit and wanted to own her own practice. Gave notice to the group and said, I'm starting my own practice, you know, made all the commitments for the lease, and called me one day just freaking out saying, oh my God, now what? You know, in dental school, they teach us how to fix teeth. I don't know billing or coding, HR, accounting, software. I don't know any of this. What do I do? Really just asking me as a friend, a hypothetical. And I said, well, there's got to be someone out there who can help you. And there wasn't. And that's how AADOM was born. So I guess the point of my story is they don't teach the necessary business skills in dental school. And that's something I've tried to understand. And what I've learned is there's just not time. There's so much clinical to learn. They can barely get it in enough years. So that takes precedence. I would definitely say a young dentist should join AADOM. And in fact, we actually did a name change because we had so many members joining who were not office managers, who were dentists, who were the CFOs. So we're still AADOM, but we are actually now the American Association of Dental Office Management. So we encompass everyone who touches the management of the business. So certainly for new dentists, even while they're in dental school for $164 a year to start learning the ins and outs and the business of dentistry, absolutely. And then when they are comfortable to have an office manager or practice administrator come on, they're not in the dark. You have that confidence that you know what they're doing. You don't have to micromanage, but you understand the concepts and you understand how to read your bottom line.
My only advice to dental students is just don't do my number one regret from dental school, and that is not to marry one of the girls in the class. Oh, my God. At 53, half the girls that were in my class are already retired millionaires. I mean, my God, you only have to work half as much, and you'll be twice as rich if you're in dental school right now and you just marry one of the girls in the class. Just there's only probably 20 of them. Just start a matrix, work your way down, and make sure you marry one on the way out the door.
So actually start a matrix.
Yes.
Figure it all out.
Absolutely, man. Those are the only 20 choices you have in life. If you're in dental school, listen to me right now. Them are the only 20 women on earth. No, I just think that as a so Heather.
Yes.
So you're saying go Dentrix or EagleSoft.
And again, Howard, I say that there's so many good companies out there, but I say that just based on my experience and hearing what our members have to say. The vast majority of our members use one or the other. Happy with both of them. And like I said, when there is a bug or something, oftentimes when it's something they don't know how to do, it's not because the software doesn't provide it, they just haven't learned it. So that's where another member will step in and say, this is how you find that data, or this is how you run that report, or where we'll kind of intervene, get them to the company to find the right trainer to come out and help them resolve the issue.
When I wrote a column on you, you know what the weirdest email I got about the AADOM was, and it was sent to me, and I told him to post it after my thread, and he wouldn't post it. You know what the comment I got about the whole AADOM thing? Mm-hmm. I'm afraid if my front office person got too educated, it'd set up an embezzling deal. What do you think about if I get too trained on EagleSoft, if I know too much what's going on, is that dangerous?
No, not if you have the right. No, absolutely not, because we teach enough to run an effective business, and I don't think that's a strange question. Really, I think that's a legitimate question. And that's a mentality that I can understand as a dentist. So it's that sweet spot of educating, but not to the point where there will be embezzlement, and that is a problem in dentistry. It's a small problem, but it exists. So I can understand that fear. But I think learning enough to run an effective practice is wonderful. We do actually teach courses on how to look for embezzlement and how to set up against that, but those are for dentists and dental spouses or our spouse members. So we are certainly, aware of that mentality, and we kind of teach up to that point, and beyond that, the safeguarding of it, we teach to the dentists and the spouses.
So Heather, you've been doing this for 12 years, mm-hmm. and 10 years ago, the average dentist in America was making $224,000 a year net take home, and over 10 years has lost $40,000 and has $119,000. So they're losing about $3,500 income going down, and most experts say it's because they've switched out from indemnity to PPO. What's your business savvy perspective between? How do you view the dental macroeconomics of just the United States of America from 12 years ago today? Do you think it's getting better? Do you think it's flat? Do you think it's getting worse? And is this decrease in $3,500 a year income a line going straight down? And I'll bet my house, my car, and Ryan's liver that it's going to go down next year. Do you think it's corporate? Do you think it's PPO? What's your state of the industry thoughts?
I don't know, and to be honest, Howard, I didn't realize it was that significant. I didn't realize that the salary was decreasing that rapidly. So I don't know. In all likelihood, it's a combination of all that, of PPOs, kind of coming in and having such a heavy presence, corporate dentistry coming in and having such a presence. Prices go up and reimbursements go down. So probably just a perfect storm of all of those things.
But I talk to any of my millionaire buddies that aren't in dentistry. I'd say, "How are you a millionaire?" And they say, "See this bottle of water?
Mhm.
I make it for 50 cents and I sell it for 89 cents to 7-Eleven and Circle K." You walk in any dentist in America, since their software is not connected to accounting, and I'll say, "Your hygienist just did a cleaning exam and x-ray. How much did you charge for that?" And he signed up to 13 different PPO plans and no one knows. What did that room cost you? No idea. So basically you sell stuff all day long for a price you don't know, for a cost you don't have. And then you go in there and spend 3 days analyzing a practice, you'll find out that, 25% of the procedures they do at a loss. And no one ever knows, no one ever cares. I mean, and again, it's that simply because Dentrix and Shine refuse to hook their stuff up to accounting software. But when you listen on their conference calls, to their publicly traded stock calls, all they talk about is all the measurements and economic statistics that's not available on any of their software for any of their customers. They just have that stuff for their investors.
That's interesting. And I don't know actually if EagleSoft integrates. It sounds like it does not.
No,
Yeah.
there's not one in the industry. I mean, I've begged Open Dental to do it. I begged SoftDent to do it, and everybody looks at me like I'm stoned. And I tell them I quit smoking pot in dental school.
Well, that's good if you're seeing patients. But my wheels are spinning because that is astounding to me that is not available. That at any given moment yeah, my wheels are spinning.
Yeah, and then you talk to these CPAs that just do dentists, and they'll go in there and they'll say, "Yeah, I mean, I sit down and explain to them, and you take all your costs and you divide it by, you only got 3 chairs, you're only open 32 hours a week. I mean, these rooms are costing, $150 an hour, and you have a hygienist in there that's doing 90 an hour. I mean, you lose $60 every time she sees a patient, and you just start anyway. But yeah, I think if we put our townie meeting and townies with all you guys and just kept putting more and more pressure on these guys, because, I mean, I keep asking this, how much money do you have to lose before you really want to find out the cost of your goods and services sold? I mean, you're at 119, and they've been opening up dental schools more and more every single year. I mean, do you have to get down to 100,000? Do you have to be a volunteer? I mean, what? At what point do you finally realize you can't sell something unless you know how much it costs?
Well, and I think that's part of a larger problem is that dentists are dentists. They're not businessmen necessarily. It's a different part of the brain that just is not being engaged. So I do feel strongly they should be teaching business in dental school. I understand there's a time constraint, but if you're coming out, unless you are going to sign up to be an employee and say, I'm just going to punch the clock, you need to understand all of these concepts. And I think AADOM does a really good job of teaching it, to a point, to where the dentist is really assessing his or her own bottom line. That's an issue. And I will certainly, be your advocate in whatever needs to be done to integrate with an accounting software. And I think, part of the fear of, well, I don't want someone seeing, I think if the team is incentivized nicely and there's a bonus structure in place, I think the team would want to understand the numbers and say, how can I make more? How can I make the practice better? So some of it comes back to me, and some of the best practices I've seen have really good bonus structures in place, and the numbers are transparent and the fear is out of it. I think there is, I think certainly if the dentist is, paying the lowest rate possible and pulling up in a really nice car and talking about his or her vacation, there might be that, kind of space where things aren't being communicated. But if the dentist says, this is our practice, this is what we're doing, this is where we need to be, our goal, and everyone's working toward that goal and gets a piece of that goal, I think that is probably a good solution.
I want to go back to the front office manager. Some dentists believe that I can't look at Heather with healthy, functional empathy and sympathy, that I know what it's like to have a toothache, and I'm so sorry, Heather, and we need to do a root canal or whatever, and then turn around and say, oh, but Heather, you're going to give me $2,500 for that root canal, billet and crown, or you're out of here. So some dentists do talk money. Some don't talk money and get a treatment coordinator. Some people think the treatment coordinator should be a hygienist or an assistant that knows clinical dentistry. Some say, hell no, that's the front office deal. That's all about insurance billing. Do you? What's your? So my question is, what I do is my questions are so horrible that I just throw like 20 of them out and hope like one of them is good. But do you believe that the dentist should talk money, or
No.
do you believe in treatment coordinators? And can the treatment coordinator be the front office, or does it need to be a clinical assistant hygienist? Talk about treatment plan
Yes.
presenters.
The treatment plan finances should never, in my opinion, be discussed by the dentist. The dentist should address the need, the treatment, and walk away. Ideally, a treatment coordinator who understands the clinical and the insurance is great. I think that's an investment in the practice a dentist should make. If you don't have a treatment coordinator, I would say an assistant or hygienist or someone, or the office manager. Either or would probably do a fantastic job. Anybody but the dentist.
Okay, and when I've always said for since probably 29 years, it seems to me that whenever I find the sweet spot of dentistry, I mean someone collecting 800 to a million, taking home 250 to 350, it seems like it's two front office, two assistants, two hygienists. Agree, disagree? Is there a sweet spot? I mean, because they're asking, if I have an office manager, do I have an insurance coordinator and a treatment plan coordinator? And I know it's so dependent on revenue. I mean, it's so different for $500,000 an office.
Sure.
Do you have any metrics on?
I don't have the magic formula. In fact, that question just came up on our forum recently. We see this many patients and we have this many assistants, hygienists. Where should we be? That's really where I think a consultant should come in and assess the practice. I'm in favor of consultants, not long-term, but time coming in and doing an assessment and saying, okay, this is, after everything's been assessed, this is what your needs are. This is what's lacking. This is where you need to hire. This is what you need to service the patients you have and bring more in. Again, I know some dentists are afraid of consultants because there's that fear factor, but I think they would be the ones to make the recommendation.
Well, I mean, I don't like saying it on my show because I've said it so many times. I think people are, in fact, they've already started a thread on Dental Town of all the things I say to repeat myself. But the bottom line is they'll spend anything on a shiny object. If it's a same day crown or a CBCT or a laser, and they think that's going to be their silver bullet that fixes their business. And I always say, no, the best return on investment you'll ever get in your entire life is a dental office consultant to come in there and get your business in order. And then when you're a rich millionaire, boys have toys. I have a CAD cam. I have a CBC. I have every damn toy ever sold, but I can go buy it because I'm a rich boy and boys have toys. But if you think you're going to buy that little shiny object with red lights on it and that's going to fix your upside down, dysfunctional, unprofitable dental office, you're batshit crazy. So they'll always buy a laser, but they blink on consultants. And I've always said that.
Well, both worthy investments, and that's how I tend to look in business in general. It's something, an investment. Is it just are you just spending money, or is it an investment? A good consultant who will come in and make the strong recommendations and shake things up and get fire the people who need to go out, make recommendations of who needs to be hired. Great investment. To your point about the shiny
Name some
object,
names. I know they all go to you, so you have to piss off 95% of them and name
I'm really not
three.
into pissing people off. I have to tell you, I will email you later.
You'll be emailing me later and saying, how much money do I have to give you to just throw that interview in the trash can?
Well, I can tell you, if you go to our site, Howard, we make our recommendations there. We have something now called it's a Speaking Consulting Alliance, where we are actually making recommendations as far as speakers and consultants. So there's a whole list, going on there. I can't name names off the top of my head, but there's a whole vetting process.
Well, if my homies are listening to this, because we always make a transcript available because they're driving.
Or if I just make one more point about the shiny objects, because this is something I feel strongly about, like a CEREC or a laser, anything you spend a lot of money on that's shiny and new, it will sit there and become a coat hanger and become a dust collector if you don't educate your team. And we see that so often, where the doctor goes out and buys a CAD cam because he saw it at a show or she saw it at a show and doesn't come back and get the team on board on how to integrate the technology and communicate the benefits to the patient. That's something, if you're a dentist listening, if you see that shiny new toy and you think it's going to fix your problems, it may or may not. I think the key is really educating your team on what it is, why you bought it, how you're going to use it, the benefit to the patient, and how to explain all that to the patient so that they want the services of your shiny new toy.
And your next annual meeting is in Boca Raton?
In Boca Raton.
What's the date?
September 15th to 17th in Boca, the most fabulous resort we have been to yet. We're going to have about 800.
That's 2016. That's this coming.
That's this year. Yep, that's this year. So,
Are you gonna have Daniel Greenston come by?
No, we're not.
You know who he is?
I do, the comedian.
The comedian does. He's from Boca Raton.
He is. I don't think he's on the agenda this year, but he's very funny. So I'd love to have him in future years. But I would love for you to join us. I'll get you an invite to get you down to come hang out. We're gonna have 3 days of fantastic speakers, fantastic education, networking, a party on the beach Friday night, and this promises to be our best event yet. Dentists are invited. All business.
What annual meeting is this for you?
This is our 12th.
Our 12th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I want to. I've only got you for 5 more minutes, and again, 20% of the emails I get from the show, they're juniors and seniors in dental school. So there's about 5,000 students in every class. So you're probably talking I would say 20% of everyone listening right now is in junior and senior in dental school, and the other 80% probably have been out 5 years or less.
Right.
And they come out of school and they're just obsessed that, oh my God, I didn't learn how to, in school, I didn't learn how to place an implant. I didn't learn CAD CAM. I didn't learn laser. I need to learn more TMJ. And they start thinking Coice and Spear and the Scottsdale Center and CAD CAM and the number one selling book out right now is Arianna Huffington's on sleep medicine and how, and they're so overwhelmed. And now Heather's like saying, damn it, I need to learn this, the dental insurance billing and all this stuff like that. So teach these kids. So I want you to close. You only got 3 minutes to close.
Yep.
To close for 3 minutes, telling them that I mean, I've seen nearly 80 dental offices in Phoenix, Arizona go bankrupt since the financial crash in 2008, and these were some of the most elite cosmetic dentists you ever know. But they didn't know their business. They didn't know their front desk. They didn't know insurance and billing. They didn't know their costs. Talk to these young kids out that before they go learn bone grafting, implants, same-day crowns, and sleep apnea, that they got to learn the front desk.
They do. And like I said, and I'm just looking up right now, Howard, because we are actually launching a site for new dentist education. Well, not a site. A part of our site will be specifically for new dentist education. If you're hearing this and you are a student, you are opening a business. I know you're opening a dental practice, but at the end of the day, it's a small business, and you need to be prepared to run your business to be profitable and successful. There's a lot of competition out there, and you want to be the best. And I'm just looking now, Howard, but we will have new dentist education. Actually, I will post it on the thread we had, but it
post that list of consultants too. And,
I will.
Yeah, anything you think my homies are hearing right now that they want to see a hard copy on, like
I will. Well, we're launching this new dentist education in conjunction with Patterson Dental, and it will have really the basics of dental practice management, everything you need to know before you open your front door.
You know, it's so funny. I have 4 boys, and they're 21, 23, 25, 27, and we live in Ahwatukee, which is a suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. And I've showed my boys so that for the last 3 years, we'll go to a restaurant, and I'll ask for the manager. And when they come there, and I just start asking them cost questions, like, you know, what is your food cost? What is your labor cost? What is your new patient acquisition cost? And for 30 years, there's only been 2 businesses that have been able to answer every single question without blinking or looking anything up. And they both do about $3 million a year and take home $1 million. And those are the only 2 restaurants that have been here from 1987 to 2016. And my boys, I remember when Ryan was only 10 years old. You just met him a while ago. Like a new restaurant would open up. I'd start talking to the manager, and my boys were like 6, 8, 10, and 12. And I'd say, okay, boys, what do you think? And they would start telling me why this guy was going to go out of business. And then it would happen.
And they were right.
And it doesn't matter that they had great food. And we've lost one of the greatest restaurants that serve chicken and great Mexican restaurants. And they were just unbelievable chefs, but they didn't know shit about their business. Mm-hmm. And they'd always be gone. And the only restaurants that are still here 29 years later are the ones that knew all their costs without looking it up, talking to me at a table.
And understanding it. Yeah, I couldn't agree. Whether it's a restaurant Dental practice, a hair salon. It's a business.
Oh, you had to mention hair. That was just rude, Heather. I can't believe that. She ends the seminar calling attention to my bald head. Hey, but Heather, I am your biggest fan. I think the world of you. And like I'm telling my homies right now, I mean, I get it. I mean, if you told me I could never pull 4 wisdom teeth again, I probably would cry. If you told me I couldn't do a root canal again, it would be depressing. But I don't care how good of a chef you are. I don't care how much you love it. If you don't pay attention to that front office, then you need to delegate, find someone that can, and no one can teach them better than Heather Colicchio.
Well,
Heather, thank you so
thank
much
you,
for
Howard.
spending an hour of your
I
precious time with me.
appreciate it. And I will post that link. And I'm just looking now for the new dentists anyway. We will be covering hiring tips. That's something they definitely want to watch before they do any hiring. Referral marketing, metrics, and scheduling best practices. We've got a whole bunch of education for those guys. If you're an office manager listening, dentist listening, come to the conference in Boca. Howard, I hope you'll join us there. It's going to be amazing. And thank you for everything. Thank you.
All right, Heather, you're a rock star. Thanks so much for giving me an hour of your life.
Okay, thanks, Howard.